Vidyadan Foundation for Education, in collaboration with Society for Integrated Development of Himalayas, organized a seminar on Indian perspectives of education from 20th to 23rd September 2012.
Some people came to know that I also sing. They all wanted me to sing. And Tejinder ji, before she came to know that I I can sing, she told me that, people say that anybody going to Shanti Niketan, they sing. So I said, good that you know it. But then she insisted that I should sing. And this morning, she said, why don't you start with a song? So I was really not going to do that. I was thinking that I would quote Tagore by singing. But not just quoting the prose, but what he said through his songs. The same thing through his songs. But just as a gesture of gratitude to Tejinder ji, I start with a song which kind of talks about a very central concern of Tagore, Rabindranath. And it has to do with Ananda, or in Bengali, Anando. And most probably you would understand the words. Baje ashim nabh majhe anadi rabo baje ashim nabh majhe anadi rabo jage agun rubi chandra tara bahe nirantar anant anand dhara bahe nirantar anant anand dhara. This is not the full song, but then I haven't been singing for a long time. But I will come back to the other songs. But forgive me if I am, because I'm certainly not going to be as polite and gentle as Umadi was. And I am going to be very kind of, you can almost call me a fundamentalist, because I see no other choice but to have, to take a complete radical step. So, no kind of modification, no addition to the original idea of Shanti Niketan can really help it. And this I know through my body itself, because I was born there and I studied there and I'm teaching there. And I'm one of those critical insiders, and I don't know if I tell all that I want to tell you, but maybe parts of it. Now, you see, the first reflection, almost the first reflection on education by Tagore was when he was 16 years old. And his basic concern was teaching in English. So his basic concern was that hurdle, he was talking about the mother tongue and the importance of bringing the whole world of knowledge through mother tongue, and how, it's like eating with fork and knife. By the time the food actually reaches your mouth, you lost all interest in food. So it's like, I'm quoting Tagore, it's like Tagore said, if you want to learn something in English, which you have to struggle to understand, then by the time it reaches you, you will lose complete interest in knowledge altogether. So that was the thing. And what was that education? It was the colonial British education, and quite shamelessly declared as to produce people Indian in blood and color, which is very famous, of course you all know, but English in taste, in opinions, in moral, and in intellect. And I'm old enough to have seen some of these Ingo Bongo Babus in West Bengal. And you can see that Tagore's initiative in Shanti Niketan was actually a blow to this whole system of education. And briefly, and what I have been hearing, actually I really do not have much to say, and I blame Tejinder ji again for that, because everything has been said already. So, and the final blow was Umari's lecture. So, but anyway, it's all again, through Rabindranath it was again karma, jnana, and not bhakti but prema. So it was something like a premier jogo to the world of, prey. So to create that kind of a situation, I think, to my understanding, I think he was trying to create an atmosphere where you could learn, enjoy, and that joy, or that, let's say, Chaitanya, which flows through everything in the world. And therefore, it was certainly not a place for academics. And Umadi actually explained everything to you, but I will just touch upon a few very practical things that he did. The children used to wake up in the morning, they would be with the soil, they would do the gardening for at least about half an hour before they go and sit silently and meditate. Then they start their academics, and in the evening it was strictly prohibited to do study in the evening, because there were discussions, there were singing sessions, there were reading of poetries, poems, all that. That was the day-to-day life around Shanti Niketan initially, when there were only 5 children there, and I think more than 5 teachers. So when it started, something like many other schools actually started like that. And then he was very keen to have a technical section in Shanti Niketan, and the children actually learned tailoring, carpentry, composing. I know that we started this press, bookbinding, and gardening, cooking, all that. But as you know, actually Umadi quoted something saying that because Tagore somewhere said that the experiment failed completely. And so in British education you will see that it was urban and middle class centered and state dependent. And he wanted to come away from both these two and teaching through a foreign language. So did all that, but then finally it became, everything came back again to Shanti. So people now are thinking of teaching English. Actually today, if you go, it's very difficult to do research in Bengali, in Shanti. So they would insist that you would have to do it in English. And also, it's full of middle class people. And no rural, you would hardly see, because it's a central university, because it's a subsidized university, you get people coming from all walks of life. But this is very middle class, mentality centered university today. And also totally dependent on the state. So all 3 things came in, but I will just, before I express my unhappiness over all this, I would just want to share a few things that was possible in Shanti Niketan. So as I was talking about Anando and let's see, the Chaitanya, the consciousness that flows through everything and everything. That is why Tagore would sing songs that you don't have to go all around the world to find who the supreme being or universal man or whatever. It's right there within yourself. And all that was talked about for the last 2 days. It was all incorporated in that. So I will quickly read out, that is why, interestingly, the sequence, I can't mention the sequence now. But if I try to, okay, let me see. You see, the school started in 1901, and then Umadi said 1921 Visva started, but actually the foundation stone was laid in 1918. And it actually started functioning from 1919, 3rd of July, or I think 9th of July. I learned it from Prashantada's book, that it was actually, because the Visva University was registered in 1922, where the foundation date was recorded as 1921. But actually Kala Bhavan and Sangit Bhavan started in 1919, and the courses were declared at that time. So he had a very different idea of university. I'll just quickly read that out so that you know what he meant by a university. For him, the primary function of our university should be the constructive work of knowledge, men should be brought together and full scope given to them for their work of intellectual exploration and creation. And the teaching should be like the overflow water of the spring of culture, spontaneous and inevitable. Education can only become natural and wholesome when it is the direct fruit of a living and growing knowledge. So for him, university was a place where the primary function of the university was generating knowledge and secondary is distributing knowledge. So, I mean, it was, I'm quoting from my own writing and I missed that line for some reason. The secondary function of university is distribution of knowledge. Which means what? Which means that all of us, the teachers, who are only transferring knowledge from my head to the others, will really feel absolutely threatened in a situation where you have to generate knowledge. And that would be an overflow of that would be what we call learning. So basically it was a learning institution and not a teaching institution. It did follow a professorial system, preferred professorial system to a tutorial system. And that is why the structure of the university was, as declared, I'm quoting from the Shanti Niketan magazine, which was published. It was Magh is what, somewhere in January 1921, announces Visva Bharati's academic structure. I'm quoting: 1. The Visva Bharati is for higher studies. 2. The system of examinations will have no place whatever in the Visva Bharati, nor is there any conferring of degrees. 3. Students will be encouraged to follow a definite course of study, but there will be no compulsion to adopt it rigidly. So Visva Bharati, started functioning like that, and interestingly, every teacher learned something other than his or her own subject, and every student had to give lessons on his or her own subject. This was mandatory. And this Visva Bharati was, after you pass out the school and then you enter the university, so it was divided into 6 years. So basically it was 3 years studying some general things and then concentrating on whatever you were interested in for the next 3 years. But the college section was not there. The college was, Rabindranath was terribly against college, where he thought was the dry practice of transference of knowledge. Transferring of knowledge takes place. And there was huge controversy with Jagannath Sarkar and Rabindranath. It's a very famous debate. And the debate is still on. And it's not just the government that spoiled the university. By 1924, Visva Bharati Samsad agreed, accepted or took the resolution that they will accept Kolkata University courses. And there were courses offered. So, the force was within, not outside. There was within, there was a force who wanted to have English education, who wanted to, they're all documented through Tagore's letters and all that. Tagore was absolutely, there is no reason to think that Tagore was very happy with this institution. And I think what Umadi said of some, what cage it is?
A borrowed cage.
Yes. So, he was quite aware of that, but he was constantly moving from one experiment to the other, so that at least as long as he lived, he had some happy time, I think so. So, he had Patu Bhavan, and by about 1912 or so, it became a examination-centered, competition-centered thing. So to me, the Shanti Niketan was basically a community building experiment. And as she was saying, that it was a community against a nation. And therefore, to me, it was a way of life. And I will just quickly read that part out, then just to make my point clear about the nation and community thing. Tagore said, in ancient India, the government took the shape of the royal power. But there was an immense difference between the state in England and the royal power in India. England has entrusted to the state all the possible functions of public utility. India did it only partially. In India, war, maintenance of public peace and administration of justice have been functions of the king. But every other task from education to water supply has been naturally discharged by society. So it was a kind of face-to-face interaction. That was called samaj, and not somebody, you elect somebody and put all the responsibility on her or him, and just keeps, silent, and you don't work for yourself. So, the 1916 lectures that Umadi mentioned, I'm quoting from that book. This time it was the nation of the West driving its tentacles of machinery deep down into the soil. A nation, in the sense of the political and economic union of people, is that aspect which a whole population assumes when organized for a mechanical purpose. Society, as such, has no ulterior purpose. It is an end in itself. It is a spontaneous self-expression of man as a social being. It is natural regulation of human relationships so that men can develop ideals of life in cooperation with one another. So this is what, she was also mentioning, that it was organic. It was a natural, self-regulated human beings coming together, cooperating between themselves. That made Shanti Niketan possible. So that was the happy time in Shanti Niketan, and then when Pathabhavan did not work, he started Shikha Shatra in 1924 in Shanti Niketan itself, not elsewhere. Within Shanti Niketan there was the next school, again with about 5 or 6 children. It was originally, it was an orphanage. And Leonard Elmhurst was with him to work. And I read out a day in Shanti Niketan. This was framed by Leonard Elmhurst. He's saying, okay, 9 to 11:30, complete freedom within certain limits in the workshop under supervision. A, dairy writing. B, record keeping, cows, hens, chickens, rainfall garden, farm, kitchen supplies. C, craftsmanship, durry making, blankets making, brick making, wicks and band making, weaving, house construction, carpentry, smithy, dyeing, designing, decorating. No question of academics yet. And there is, Tagore's note in handwritten notes here, where he said, wheat grinding, oil mill extracting sap from date palm and tal palms, preparing gur, jaggery. Then he says paper making, ink making, making soap for their own use. And Elmhurst said in the beginning,
Which year was this?
Sorry?
Which year was this?
This one, 1922?
1922.
I'm sorry, 24? No, 22. 22, okay. But this was the planning of the Shikha Shatra. So it was 22. Okay.
What is the name again? Shikha?
Shikha Shatra. Shiksha Satra. Is that right? Now you know what it is. Okay. Now you see, this is very interesting. Elmer said that nothing shall be done for the child which he cannot do for himself. For example, eliminate all books at start. Think of a school. Then let them paint own alphabet on walls as decorative friezes. Must construct own textbooks from experience. Let each make his own book, garden, kitchen, music, song, drama, account. Let them cut the paper and bind the books themselves. Then we'll care for them.
Yeah.
So this is something like, this was a time when these things were happening. So it was something like, you can imagine if you want to construct a community to bring people together, festival and melas play a very, very important role. And we had a lot of festivals in Shanti Niketan, as you know, all secular festivals. And songs after songs were written. Because that's the major component of festival is song, and then we had alponas and murals and decorations and dancing and all that. So one of these would be now Tagore started writing songs, composing songs so that everybody can sing. So the song that I sang just now, Mahenirantaro Ananta Ananda Dhara Ekako Akhanda Brahmanda Maje Paramo Akoshei Raja Rajendra Raje. And this is said to chaptal, and you may not, I mean, I can see that all of you are not clapping in time because it's difficult. But then, Anandere Shagor Hote Esheche Ajban Anandere Shagor Hote Dar Dhore Aj Bosh Re Shabai Tan Re Shabai Tan Anandere Shagor Hote. So it's, it tells you the same thing, and the use of song within the songs is also very interesting. The last line of this song is Boja jato bojai kori korbo re par dukher tori Boja jato bojai kori korbo re par dukher tori Gheuer pare dhorbo pari Jai jodi ja I'm sorry. Okay, I'll come back to it, don't worry. But what happened is, finally what happened is that this Shongit Bhavan and Kola Bhavan became something like the public relation department of Shanti. So you come and everybody will show you, this is Kola Bhavan, it's a great place. You see, there's so much of creative impulse and all that. And therefore, if you ask somebody to sing, they will sing. But it's just for singing, it's difficult. Because when you sing something like a song which says that come out of yourself, you sit in Kolkata auditorium and always say, look at me, the focused light and all these Punjabi duttas and lipstick and all that, and say, then you say, Apono hote bahir hoye baire dada. It's completely meaningless, So, yeah, and I warned you, I won't be as gentle. And, these people are respected as great Rabindra Sangit singers and Rabindranath followers. So, sorry, but then this is what has happened. And as I told you, Rabindranath was not happy, and he was, just to tell you that, as Sumadi said, it was all completely funded by Tagore, and he had to sell all his, quite a lot of properties and wife's ornaments, and the Nobel Prize money was completely donated to this, and all his copyright was given to the Visva Bharati, all that, and yet he was running out of fund. And so, quite late in his career, he was going around begging, and with his team of dance drama, begging for money for his institution. And so, but I will read out something which more or less it would reflect what I was talking about, and this is a letter written by Tagore to somebody called Charuchandra Bhattacharya, who was the Vice Chancellor of Visva Bharati at that time, and he was completely shattered by the introduction of colleges and all that. But I will read it in Bengali, I'm sorry, because if I translate it, the beauty of the whole thing will go. But I will slowly read it and hope you would understand most of it. প্রায় 40 বৎসর হলো প্রৌঢ় বয়সের আরম্ভে নিঃসঙ্গ একলা বেরিয়ে পড়েছিলাম দুঃসাধ্য কাজের সংকল্প নিয়ে। না ছিল অর্থ, না ছিল শিক্ষা, না ছিল অভিজ্ঞতা। এত যে সাহস পেয়েছিলাম তার একটা কারণ আইডিয়ালের প্রেরণা। সেই আইডিয়ালকে রূপ দেবার আনন্দে মন উদ্বেল হয়ে উঠেছিল। আমার সেই আইডিয়ালের সঙ্গে আমার স্বদেশবাসীর অভ্যস্ত পন্থার সঙ্গে মিল ছিল না। প্রচলিত শিক্ষাবিধিকে উপেক্ষা করেই কাজে এগিয়েছি। দুঃখ পেয়েছি বিস্তর, দরদ পাইনি দেশের কাছ থেকে। নিজের সংসারকে বঞ্চিত করেছি, কিন্তু কখনো অনুশোচনা করিনি। অবশেষে একদিন কনস্টিটিউশনের খাল কাটা হলো, বেনো জল ঢুকলো। কলিকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ডিগ্রিধারী মাতব্বর লোকেরা তাদের শিক্ষা দীক্ষা নিয়ে ভাঙাগড়ায় প্রবৃত্ত হলেন। তখনও প্রলয়ের চেহারা সুস্পষ্ট দেখতে পাই। Now you can see the amount of the depth of his.
Not line by line.
Repent.
We would like to know your version.
Just near the
He said, 40 years ago, I arrived at this place without having any education, any experience, any money. But the only thing I had was the strength of my idea. And it was very different from the convention of my Deshabasi. But I did work. I suffered a lot, but didn't get the necessary amount of love from my countrymen. But I have never regretted this. Years after years passed by. Finally, the constitution arrived. And the quasi-intellectuals from Kolkata University came and started ruling this place. And you can see the depth of, why should a person write a letter like this to the head of the institution? You can see the depth of the suffering he had. And of course, this...
Will you please read this letter again? This couple of lines again, please.
You want to read, you want to hear some Bengali pronunciation, right? Okay. I just read the last part of it. অবশেষে একদিন কনস্টিটিউশনের খাল কাটা হলো, বেনজল ঢুকলো, কলিকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের ডিগ্রিধারী মাতব্বর লোকেরা তাদের শিক্ষা দীক্ষা নিয়ে ভাঙা গড়ায় প্রবৃত্ত হলেন। তখনও প্রলয়ের চেহারা সুস্পষ্ট দেখতে পাইনি। But interestingly, Nandalal was given total freedom to do whatever he wanted to do. And I'm fortunate to have studied at Kolkata. And so he said, finally he said, ভাগ্যে ছিল কলা ভবন এবং শ্রীনিকেতন। Fortunately there was কলা ভবন and শ্রীনিকেতন। আমার শেষ বয়সের সমস্ত চেষ্টা যদি ওই কলা ভবন সঙ্গীত ভবনের উন্নতি সাধনের জন্য দিতে পারতুম, তাহলে আমি গর্বের সঙ্গে দাঁড়ে দাঁড়ে ভিক্ষা করতাম এবং মরার আগে মনে করতাম জীবন সার্থক হয়েছে। কিন্তু এই কলেজটার জন্য, when he was begging around, he said, if I go out for Kala Bhavan and Sriniketan, I would think my life as a successful life. But for that college, why should I go and ask for money to this college? So that was his question. Anyway, so coming back to, I've taken quite a long time actually. Coming back to some good things about life. Rabindranath, if what my understanding goes is Rabindranath found his God in everything, even probably in the microphone itself. And there are songs, and he has written where these things are kind of quite clearly and nicely expressed. And that way he was very close to Sufis and Baals and Zen. And whatever you do, you actually, and this whole process of becoming, Hoyat Otha, that was the key word for Rabindranath, which means you take out, you peel the veil of self continuously and become what you essentially are. And that's what education is. So therefore, you will see that he would find his God everywhere, and he would love, and he would think that that's my atmiya, my relative. So one of that would be, I'm sorry, my somehow new place, and I don't get tired at all by singing, but it's my voice that is getting some problem. But I just try to sing. I normally sing in a very high pitch, but I can't go so high now. One of the part of the song I'm singing is saying that under the feet of everybody, the soil that we touch is the soil of the Swarga, the paradise. You don't have to go to anywhere else. And with everybody and in everybody, you are hidden there. সেই তো আমার তুমি বিশ্বজনের পায়ের তলে ধুলে ময় যে ভূমি সেই তো স্বর্গভূমি, বিশ্বজনের পায়ের তলে দোলেময় যে ভূমি, সেই তো স্বর্গভূমি, সবাই নিয়ে সবার মাঝে লুকিয়ে আছো তুমি, সেই তো আমার তুমি, অন্ধকারের উৎস হতে উৎসারিত আলো, সেই তো তোমার আলো, সকল দ্বন্দ্ব বিরোধ মাঝে জাগ্রত যে ভালো, সেই তো তোমার ভালো, অন্ধকারের উৎস হতে। So that is it, and I just it's I end with reading a part of Tagore's drama, where I'm reading this out because it talks about, he never set any goal in his life that I'll have to reach there. So it was always the journey and freedom at every step. And that is why he could find his God everywhere, in a blade of a grass or anywhere in that sense. So this song is this is not really a song, this is a part of the drama that I'm going to read out. There was a bunch of youth, a band of youth who was going around looking for the old man. And they came to a riverbank, where they met with a watchman and a ferryman. We tried to do this at some point in time, long time ago, with Kabir, me and others in the Valley School in Bangalore, unsuccessfully. But I did teach some of those songs to them. Well, now, so the watchman said, "And who are you?" "We are butterflies freed from the cocoon of age." Mad, raving mad. And the ferryman said, "Then what will you all do now?" "We shall go." "Where?" "That we haven't decided." "You have decided to go, but not where to go." "Yes, that will be settled as we go along." "What does that mean?" "It means, chut bajiye choli pather bashi, bajiye choli পথের বাঁশি, ছড়িয়ে চলি চলার হাসি, ছড়িয়ে চলি চলার হাসি, রঙিন বাসন উড়িয়ে চলি জলে স্থলে, চলি গো যাই গো চলে, পথের প্রদীপ জলে গো, গগন তলে চলি গো। Is it your custom to answer questions from songs? Yes, otherwise the answer becomes too unintelligible. Then you think your song intelligible? Yes, quite, because they contain music. পথিক ভুবন ভালোবাসে পথিক জানে রে, এমন সুরে তাই সে ডাকে কানে কানে রে। পথিক ভুবন ভালোবাসে পথিক জানে রে, এমন সুরে তাই সে ডাকে কানে কানে রে। চলার পথে আগে আগে, চলার পথে আগে আগে, ঋতুর সোহাগ জাগে, চরণ খায় মরণ মরে পালে পালে, চলি গো যাই গো চলে, পথের প্রদীপ জালে গো, গগন তালে চলি গো